Well, this is a Williams train run, and that's in spite of the fact that there's two fundamental problems with these trains. First, scale. Those are O scale. They're big, kind of intermediate, and then that's all O27 back there. So, kind of looks a little goofy. Big giant things pulling little tiny cars. The second issue is I'm not sure they even existed. Those spine cars, piggybacks, when these guys were pulling trains. And this last but not least, these were passenger engines, not freight. So anyway, there's the discontinuities in the matrix of life. Well, I don't care. I just want to run trains. Well, the Trainmaster, that scale-wise matches up with those MTH cars a little better, right? Than these things do. You know, they're just too big. I eventually have to come up with a layout where these can actually shine and show their thing. The MTH O gauge, O scale cars we have, I've got two of them. We need to get another set, but complete the Pennsylvania as a passenger set, and that would be more accurate. Now, New York Central didn't have many of these, and I'm not sure if they ever used them for passenger service. I don't know. Or freight. I'm not sure they used them for much, but switching. I've got a lot of pictures of these in the yards, but I don't have a whole lot of pictures of New York Central having train masters on the main line. And that's compared to Lackawanna, Erie, Lackawanna. They had them, and of course, New Jersey Central had them. In Pennsylvania, they had, I think, like 10 of them. Of these train masters, they didn't have a lot of them either, and I'm pretty sure that Pennsylvania used them for freight primarily. So if I took these two off and put the Pennsylvania Trainmaster on, then we're a little bit closer to reality here, with the exception of those things. But I like those things, so I'm going to run them anyway. So the Williams saga continues. I'd gotten that Santa Fe for parts to fix the Pennsylvania that I had bought that was supposed to be in running condition that had this broken truck, right? So why don't you just buy a new truck? That's what I asked online, is how to do that. Got pointed to the Bachmann Williams store and suggested that I buy this, the universal powered truck, because that was what was listed for a variety of different locomotives. And the guy who was giving me advice, in good spirit, pointed me there. But there's some issues here. Number one is this universal powered truck has the hook 180 degrees out of phase relative to where the motor is. This is what the Alco PA had. And so the hook was on the other end. So it wasn't going to work for that reason. Plus the floater wheels are on the end here versus in the middle, like the Alco PA has. So I couldn't use this. 50 bucks I didn't need to spend, but it will have a life and a purpose someday in the future, I am sure. As will these takeoff side plates from the Santa Fe that got the other one of these. So, sounds convoluted, right? I want the trainz because they've bailed me out in the past, and they had a pair of front-powered trucks for the Alco PA with these and everything. They were complete sets, minus the motor. So I bought them both. And at least they have the motor center line relative to the hook on the right end versus this one. Right? Hooks are a little too long because they're for the front. They got to reach through these, but I don't care. So I went and put this one, well, the other one of these, underneath the Santa Fe Alco, and I want to go test it and see if it runs. But the learning process took a little longer than it needed to be. But I learned the hard way that Williams has a variety of different trucks, and actually there's another Williams configuration over here. We'll talk about that in the next video. But the parts store for Bachmann Williams does not have these for the Alco PA. It has these. They're not that expensive, but they're the wrong truck. So thank you, trainz, for having these. I bought them both. So let's see what that looks like with the long hook. And let's see. And there it is. Long hook and all. Look at how long that thing is. And that is the trainz truck assembly underneath the motor that actually came in that Santa Fe Alco PA. So let's see if it works. And just like earlier in the video, I was showing trains it could never happen. That was a passenger locomotive. Santa Fe didn't use those to haul freight, but I don't have Santa Fe passenger cars. I might put the Pennsylvania shell on it. But Pennsylvania, I don't believe they use them for freight either. But anyway, I'm just curious to see whether or not it'll pull this train that this Williams Trainmaster was easily pulling. Let's see if it goes. So I think that's a success, and I really like these cars. I have another one on order. When I get them for like $50, I'm buying them. And I'm talking $50 delivered. And I've gotten another one, I think. We will see. Proof is in the pudding when it lands in my mailbox. But I'll eventually have 10 of these. And another train that would never happen, but I don't care. It works good, pulls hard, and the more I run it, the smoother it gets. I greased it all and lubed it and all that stuff when I had it apart. And of course, the problem for me is tight radius curves. It'll eventually abrade the wires going down to the pickup. And semi-scale and then 027 scale cars. So I really have nothing that's a passenger car, which would be prototypical. The pull behind that. I might just take that shell, which is nice, and put it up, put it away and put the Pennsylvania on there. Possibility. But right now I'm more interested in the mechanics of it. Now, one of the things I've been dealing with is transformers. I actually did a whole video, never posted it, because it got to be too long for me, my liking. I get tired of hearing myself speak, So these transformers are what I've been running for a while, and they're the Lionel 125 watt LWs, and they have a brake for direction, and they have a little jolt for whistle. Pretty much standard stuff for the 1950s. And the reason I like them is because for the money, you usually can get those for like $50 at a show. They will actually deliver a continuous 6 to 7 amps, 10 volts. And when I'm running the multiple locomotives like I do with the Alcos, having the ability to continuously deliver the amperage really makes that possible. Because you think about it, every time I put a motor or an electric motor across the positive to the negative, that's a path for the electricity to flow. And but the amperage will increase, right? Because the resistance has been reduced. And if you don't have a transformer that can really deliver the amperage, when I start putting 3 and 4 locomotives on the track, it just pops their circuit breaker because they see it as almost like a dead short, right? So that's why I like them, is because I can do my multiple locomotives and they can handle that higher amperage draw for a fairly long period of time. And I've had fun. But there's a problem. When I start getting into these newer can motor type locomotives, especially the ones that are designed to run on the later model transformers, these guys, I mean, they work. You can make it work. Possibly the MTHs I can't make work. I have one that won't go with these. But for the most part, you can. But they jump right to 7 volts. I think I've shown that a couple of times. That you turn that handle, like this one down here. I'll put it goes right to high voltage. Boom. See that? So the lowest voltage that I can get reliably is about 6 or 7 volts. These guys here, they run fine on 3 and 4 volts. So what happens is when I turn this thing on, that thing jumps to action abruptly, right? That's the problem. Now, if I'm just running them continuously, unless it throws a car off the track, I really don't care. But for realistically starting and stopping, where you have a little bit of time to pick up speed and a little time to come off speed, where you ease into the stop, those transformers just simply don't work. They start abruptly, and because they're starting and stopping at 7 volts, they stop abruptly. Well, I picked up this old MTH system, and basically it works somewhat. It's not the best. but it allows me to raise the voltage slowly. Didn't that look goofy? But it lets me run the lower voltages. And I think it's running pretty goofy, but the point is that this transformer system allows me to get down there. And then allows me to pick up the voltage gradually from a lower voltage point. So I think that's kind of cool. I was going with this is these Williams trains, they don't require a whole lot of amperage or voltage to pull a lot of cars. They're very efficient that way. And having this type of a transformer allows me to run the lower voltages, therefore the lower speeds. This guy here has to get run some in order to break in. It has a little hitch in its get along. This one does not. It runs very smooth. But the point being is this kind of a transformer system, you get a little more control on the starting and the stopping with these Williams than you do with the Lionels, right? I mean, if I'm just letting them run, who cares? But so we're going to explore that more and possibly explore running DC as well. And then maybe this is going to be my guinea pig for playing, because it made me upset, so I don't like it. Well, I should put it that way, but I don't. So we're going to try a few things like wiring up the motors in series versus parallel, and you know, things like that. This is going to be the one that gets used for those kind of experiments. Anyway, I think that's enough for a video. Got a lot of editing to do because I have a lot of typos with speech. And those cars right there, those Lionels, those piggyback cars, I really like them. But I've got one problem with those as well. And that is because I almost intentionally have a little bit of wave in the track, because no track is perfectly straight in the real world. As those hooks go up and down relative to each other, they will disconnect themselves. It's not that the coupler is weak. It's just that it's easy to actuate the disconnect. They're actually working the way they're supposed to work. And so I have to figure out something with that. Either go through and bring the track back to level, or find a way to keep that from happening on those couplers. But I've got another set of cars coming. I'm looking forward to that. So I'm just going to let this thing go. Let it run, run, run.